Georgia used to not be like this. Georgia has come a long way from where it is now. Platinum. The time they were here from 10,000 BC to 8,000 BC. They were the first group of people to inhabit North America. Since they were so ancient, we know little about them. But, however, we know this much is Platinum Americans hunted extinct animals like the giant bison and woolly mammoth. Hunting provided many ways for them to survive in this life. They did not build permanent homes because they were so nomadic. There were very little Plateau Indian civilizations have survived. The Plateau Americans live in all 5 regions of Georgia. Archaic Indians. The time they were here was 8,000 BC to 1,000 BC. They were the second group of people to inhabit Georgia. The archaic people hunted small animals like deer and rabbits. They made clay pottery and they suggested to move less than their ancestors, the Plantains. They're still nomadic, but they moved during seasons. Early stages of culture that became more advanced in the later period, like the stone axe, came from this time period. Woodland Indians. They were here from 1000 BC to 700 CE. They were not as nomadic as their other ancestors. They developed agriculture and success in the biggest food supply than their earlier Native Americans. The population began to grow and tribes started to form. They used bows and arrows and planted food like corn, vegetables. Mississippi Indians. They were here from 800 CE to 600 CE. They were around when the Europeans began exploring that land. They built flat-top burial mountains and religious ceremonies. They were the first of Georgia's early inhabitants to begin farming on a large scale. They used stone, wood, and bone to create weapons. They traded with one another and lived in towns governed by chiefs. Villages were protected by guards and mounts. During the time when Europeans were exploring the land, 3 major countries, Great Britain, France, and Spain, had been competing for land in North America for centuries. Hernando de Soto arrived in Georgia. He was a Spanish conquistador. He led 600 soldiers across Georgia in search of gold. De Soto's men tortured and enslaved the natives in order to gain the information about the gold and silver locations. He never found gold, but he did leave a lasting impact on American Indians in Georgia. He marched throughout the southeast of America. Thousands of American Indians were tortured and killed by his men. He brought diseases and wiped out villages of American Indians. During the mid-1500s, when Europeans were really starting to explore Georgia, there were 2 major indigenous tribes left in the state. The Creek Indians lived in southern Georgia, and Cherokee Indians lived in the northern part of Georgia. They both built their houses around a center plaza that held a council house where the government meetings took place. They both depended on Georgia's wildlife and resources for food and shelter. They both had different houses for summer and winter months. The Charter of 1732. This document outlined 3 reasons why for settling in Georgia. One of the reasons was for charity, which was to convert people to Christianity. The second reason was economics, which was the guiding factor in the establishing of the colony of Georgia. The third reason was defense, mainly protecting Prohibitable South Carolina from Spanish in Florida. The Charter of 1732 gave 21 trustees the right to govern Georgia until 1753. Overthorpe in the trustee colony. James Overthorpe was a well-educated member of the English Parliament. He was also the founding father of Georgia. 10 people helped create it in building with the colony of Georgia: Tomachichi and Mary Musgrove. Tomachichi was the elder chief of the Yamaka line, also known as Savannah. He was a Creek Indian. He gave Savannah to Overthorpe, and he also helped Georgia be successful. Mary Musgrove. She is a part Indian woman interpreter. She helped Overthorpe work peacefully with the Creek Indians, and she is the founder of Savannah and the colony. Royal Colony. After the Charter of 1732 expired, Georgia became a royal colony. A royal colony is when a king is in charge. Overthorpe struggled to keep his trusty colony and plan together. During this time, Overthorpe was concerned about military invasion because of the Spanish in Florida. He gathered immigrants for defense. Overthorpe began building forts along Georgia's Barrier Islands because of the possible Spanish invasion. The battle that Spanish claimed the land in Georgia was the Battle of the Bloody Marsh. With Overthorpe's trustee plan beginning to fail, laws that overturned in Georgia was law, land could be bought and sold, slavery was legal, and liquor was allowed. With slavery and land restrictions lifted, colonists were able to build large plantations and cash crops started to boom like tobacco, wheat, peas, and corn and indigo, and raising livestock like corn, horses, mules, and pigs. Georgia slavery began in 1775. He appointed royal governors. Royal governors acted as a king's voice in the colony and performed administration duties.
John Reynolds was the first royal governor, which served in 1757 to 1756, but he had many conflicts with the colony's legislature, so the king revoked his position.
Henry Ellis was the second governor that served in 1757 to 1760. He worked well with the legislature and American Indians. He showed colonists how to govern themselves and explained the need of a budget, taxes, and military defense. He left office in 1760 due to poor health. James Wright was the final royal governor, served from 1760 to 1776. He was a popular governor who negotiated important treaties with the Creek Indians to open up millions of acres for settlement. Georgia prospered and grew faster than any other English colony under Wright's leadership. He stayed loyal to England during and when the Revolutionary War began. He was eventually arrested. Salzburgs. They came to Georgia in 1730 seeking for religious freedom. Their tribulation was lumber production, cattle raising, and agriculture. During this time, Georgia also had 3 people that were settling in their colony, which were the High Scotsons. They were furious fighters for bravery in battle. They were successful in timber and cattle industry. They were the first creators of the precinct church in Georgia. They signed the first anti-slavery proposition. Third people to inhabit the land of Georgia was the Macintolans. They were the original Georgia settlers. French and Indian War. Great Britain won the war. In the Treaty of Paris, 1763, France was forced to give up all of its North American countries, including Canada and all the land between the Appalachian Mountains and Mississippi River. Georgians were very happy with this decision because there would be no more Spanish threat to their colonies. Georgia's borders were also expanded to the St. Mary's River to the south, the Mississippi River to the west, and land around August to the north. Proclamation of 1736. In 1736, King George issued a statement prohibiting colonists from moving west of the Appalachian Mountains. Colonists who lived there had to pack up and move back east. They were not too happy about that. Georgia's response to the Stamp Act was not as violent as other colonies. Georgia was actually the only colony where the hated stamps were sold. Georgia's royal governor, James Wright, had too much to do with the colony's calm reaction. Despite Governor Wright's influence, they were still resistant to the Stamp Act. On November 6, 1765, a group affiliated with the Sons of Liberty called the Liberty Boys were established to oppose the Stamp Act. The Liberty Boys, along with many other Georgians, were unhappy with the unfair tax on paper goods. Declaration of Independence. The Declaration announced to King George III that the colonists were united against him. It stated why the colonists declared their independence, and the colonists hoped to win support from countries all over the world. There are 3 main parts of the Declaration, which is the preamble, a list of grievances, and the official declaration. Button Gwinnett. He was born in England in 1735 and arrived in Georgia in 1765. He was a moderate plantation owner and important figure in Georgia's politics. During the Revolutionary War period, Gwinnett was an influential member of the Whig Party and became the leader of the radical St. John's Parish Patriotic Group. After signing the Declaration of Independence, Gwinnett became chairman of the committee who wrote the Georgia's Constitution of 1777. In 1777, he became Georgia's governor but only served a few months. While in office, Gwinnett was challenged his enemy, Lynching McIntosh, to a duel and was shot. Gwinnett died of his injuries 3 days later. Lyman Hall. He was a minister and a doctor from Connecticut who practiced medicine in Georgia and South Carolina. He moved to Georgia in 1760 and joined Gwinnett in leadership of the St. John's Parish. Hall was a member of Georgia's delegation to the Second Constitutional Congress and signed the Declaration of Independence. After the American Revolution, Hall returned to his medical practice. He was elected governor in 1783 and focused on important issues like rebuilding Georgia's economy and dealing with loyalists and American Indians. He was also instrumental in founding the University of Georgia. George Walton. He was a successful lawyer who became involved in Georgia's politics during the Revolutionary War. Walton served in the Provincial Congress and was the president of the Council of Safety. Walter was a delegate to the Constitutional Congress and was the third Georgian to sign the Declaration of Independence. During the American Revolution, Walter served as a patriotic colonist. He was wounded and captured by British and ended up walking with the limp for the rest of his life. When the war ended, Walter remained active in Georgia's politics for the next 30 years. He was a representative to Congress, court judge, a chief of justice of Georgia, and a governor of Georgia in the U.S. Senate.